Hello, everyone. It's good to be with you today. I hope you're having a good day. This is the first time I've done a video lesson, so I hope that you'll show a lot of grace to me. I've always heard that I have a face for radio, and so I've already got a handicap in this game, but I hope that everything we say and do today will be a blessing to you. As far as our Elman Hudson family is concerned, I know this is different than what many of us are used to, but I truly hope today that first of all that everyone is doing well, that you're staying positive through this dilemma that we're facing, and that you'll continue to be salt and light in our world. I'd like to read a message from our elders. They want to let everybody know that they're thinking about them. Dear Elman Hudson congregation, we want you all to know that our thoughts and prayers are with each of you as we go through this time. We pray that this will all pass soon and our lives will all return to normal. We want all of you to know that if a need arises, please let us know so that we may help. God bless you all, the elders. And so I'm so thankful for them, for the decisions they've made. And this is just a tough time. And so it's hard to lead through some of this, but they've taken that responsibility, and I'm so thankful for their lives and their efforts. I'm so thankful for our church family. I've had a lot of compliments this week. I'm so thankful for your service to our family, to our community, and just everything that you've done, and it's so great to be a part of this family at Elman Hudson. Whether this quarantine continues or not, I want to encourage you over the next few weeks to be intentional about a couple of different things. And I hope that you'll take these things serious, that this just be something that's on your mind, that it be something that we work towards together. And the first one is reaching out to people, that we make phone calls, text messages, Facebook maybe, or FaceTime, anything to connect our lives and our hearts to one another. Don't let this be a time, even though we may not can be in each other's premise, don't let this be a time that we totally disconnect or disengage our hearts with one another. We all need face-to-face contact with people. We do. We're wired for that. Be intentional about reaching people, checking on people, and just staying connected. And so I know that many of you are doing that. All of you are doing that. But I just want to encourage you to be more intentional about that each and every day. The second thing is considering the needs of others. Just being considerate of other people. I know that this is kind of it's just a difficult time as far as knowing what to do, how to do things. These circumstances that we're facing, this may not affect you. This may not change your life much or be a burden to you. But for some people, there are a lot of people that we know that they have a lot of things on their plate as far as health, as far as things that they're dealing with as a family. And this is just a thing that throws a kink in their lives, whether it is protecting their health, engaging with one another, whatever that looks like. But just make sure that we're considering other people's needs. And so don't just go through your day without considering someone else or offering a hand to help someone. There's people who are carrying a load through this, and make sure we're thoughtful in these circumstances. Today, we're going to be looking at Exodus chapter 17 in the nation of Israel, or the children of God. And I've asked you to read this beforehand, Exodus chapter 17. I hope as a family that you've done that. We're not going to read a lot of it. We're going to kind of go through the story, but we're going to draw a few conclusions and look at a few things. And as we look today, don't disconnect from this part of the Bible. So many times it's easy for us to disconnect. And so don't disconnect from these people and think that this doesn't have bearing in your life. Because you see, Exodus is our story. It is the story of God drawing a people out of slavery and drawing them into relationship with Himself. God truly does draw us out to draw us in. And so throughout this story, you're going to see God drawing His people out. Throughout the book of Exodus, that is the whole theme of it, drawn out to draw in. And so God draws the children of Israel. He draws them out of Egypt. He draws them out of idolatry, out of comfort, out of their selfishness, out of their own self-strength. And He's going to draw them into His presence, into His love, and into His power. And so God is going to lead them to a land. He's going to lead them through a land, to a land of promise. And He's going to call them to trust Him through this journey. And so that's really what we're talking about today. Is we're talking about this aspect of trusting God through the journey of life. And that's what I want us to look at today, and hopefully we can make application to our life of how God is drawing us out to draw us in, okay? And so today we're going to look at a place. It's a place that represents support. It's a place that represented rest. It's a place that represented peace and comfort. And that's the idea of Exodus chapter 17, is this idea of support and rest. And that place is called Rephidim. And you've read this chapter in Exodus chapter 17. The Israelites, they come to this place, Rephidim, and they've been traveling through the desert of sin, which is just a desert, it's a desolate place, and there's no water, there's nothing there, and they've gone quite a while without water, and they're thirsty. And Rephidim holds the promise of rest, comfort, and support. And so many scholars believe that this is a place that was probably an oasis. It was probably something that you could probably see from a long ways off. It was near Mount Horeb, so they're drawing close to where God's bringing them in regards to Sinai. But the children of Israel have been marching through this desert, and they see this oasis, but soon they realize that Rephidim is not supportive. It doesn't give rest. Their expectations aren't met. There is no water. And they begin to quarrel and grumble against Moses. And they say things like, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt? Give us something to drink." And they're about to stone Moses, and they get so angry at Moses, and they even question God. They begin to question, is the Lord among us or not? And so you see the hard-heartedness of these people, and you see their lack of faith and lack of trust, but you see they're real. They're real, and God works in the midst of all of that. And so Moses goes to God and he pleads for help. And it's here where God tells Moses to take his staff and strike the rock at Horeb. And when he does, water flows and all of Israel drinks. And so God provides at Rephidim. God cares and provides for his people. What I want you to see through this chapter is it wasn't about the place. It was about the relationship. But the story goes further. While they're camped at Rephidim, Amalek marches out in battle against Israel. And you see this in the back half of the chapter of chapter 17. And Moses sends Joshua to fight Amalek. And when Joshua marches out to battle, Moses takes Aaron and Hur and goes to the top of a hill to oversee the battle. And Moses takes the staff of God and he lifts it above his head. And as long as his hands are lifted above his head, Israel prevails. But as Moses grows tired and he begins to drop his hands, Amalek begins to prevail over Joshua and his army. And Moses' arms are getting tired throughout the day, and he begins to drop them. And Aaron and Hur, they get a rock and they set Moses on the rock, and one gets on each side of him, and they actually hold his hands up, and God brings victory to Joshua and the Israelites. This is what I want you to see about this story. This is how I want us to apply this, and this is what I want you to think about today. Today, you may be at your Rephidim. You may be at a place in your life where your expectations aren't being met, where you have needs or concerns that you feel aren't being met. I'm not just talking about our current situation in the world. I'm talking about maybe it's your health, your personal health. I'm talking about maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's just your life, that you may not be where you think you should be, or you may not be in a place of support and rest. Instead of that place, you may be at a place of trial or disappointment. You may be at a place where the negativity just builds and it feels like things are getting worse. You may be at a place of fear, a place of anxiety, a place of really and truly, a place that causes you maybe a little bit of bitterness. And you see it in your attitude, and you see it in your actions, you see it in your life choices, you see it in lashing out in relationships. And to make it worse, it seems like you're in a place where the enemy is attacking you. Israel, not only are they thirsty, but God meets that need, but in that time of wandering in that desert, we see that they're attacked by, as the Bible would go on, the Amalekites would be one of Israel's biggest enemies that God would continue to fight throughout their history. And so, maybe in your most vulnerable state, the enemy is coming after you. And if you're there, if you found yourself in this place, this is what I want you to do. And this is what I want you to think about, what I want you to take home with you today, what I want you to talk about as a family today as you sit in your house, is draw closer to God. Realize that it's not about the place, it's about the relationship. Wherever you find yourself today, be drawn to God. And I want us to make that very practical, and I want us to look at Exodus 17 and really the book of Exodus as we look at that today and make this practical. The first way that we can draw close to God and connect ourselves to Him is I want you to write down 5 things that you're thankful for. Write down 5 things that you're thankful for. How much more practical can it get to understand that God is blessing me and God is working in my life, even in the midst of struggle or of pain or of trial, even in the midst of when I don't feel like I'm in a place of support or strength. Write down 5 things that you're thankful for. Maybe even go deeper than that. Maybe not just that surface level stuff, but maybe let's go a little bit deeper and write down 5 ways you have seen God working in your life. 5 times where God has brought you through something. 5 times where you've seen the power and the strength of God working in your life. And what I want you to do is write those things down and put them on your pillow. What's interesting about Exodus chapter 17 is the children of Israel have seen the plagues. They've seen the Red Sea parting. They've seen bitter water turn to sweet. They've seen manna fall from the sky, bread fall from the sky. God is daily providing for their needs. But in the midst of all of this negativity, in the midst of all of these things, they forget all of that. And many times we do too. It's easy in the midst of crisis to only focus on the negative or the things that we don't have. It's easy to get bitter or to lose heart. But as children of God, we must realize that God is present in our lives and trust His goodness and love to work in us and for us. It's not about the place. It's about the relationship. The second thing I would like for you to do today, and this may be difficult, and sometimes it's hard for us as human beings to do this, and here it is. Name one area of your life that you need help and ask someone to help you. The reason we struggle with that so much is because we have to humble ourselves. We have to come to the conclusion that maybe, just maybe, I need help, or maybe I am not strong enough, or I'm not able to bear a load that I've been carrying for quite some time. And so name one area of your life that you need help and ask someone to help you carry the load. In times of crisis, in times of struggle, when we come to a point in our lives or a place in our lives of anxiety or our needs aren't being met, whatever that looks like, we need to understand that God is still there ready to help. And sometimes that looks like He uses other people. So what is your one area of your life that you're wanting to drop your arms and give up? You know, holding your arms up all day long. Moses grew tired. The enemy continues to attack. The battle is continuing to be fought, but Moses grew tired throughout the day. What is it in your life where the enemy continues to attack and we must hold our arms up and rely on the strength of God? What in your life? There are times in our lives and areas in our lives that overwhelm us or leave us helpless. Maybe you're there today. Maybe you're to a point where it's just a helplessness. And you need to ask for help. There's burdens that we carry that have gotten heavier over time. There's emotional burdens. There's physical burdens. There's things we deal with in our relationships. There's things we deal with in the aspect of physical things. What are they? They're spiritual burdens and struggles that are deteriorating our souls. Many of us carry around burdens of sin and decisions that we've made. What are those things? God is working in our lives. But we must pinpoint those things and ask someone to help carry that. We need to share those items and invite someone to help us carry it. Invite people into your life that can hold your arms up. And here's the third thing I want us to realize is we need to consider others. We talked about that when we first came on today, but we need to consider others. We need to look for people who are carrying burdens and seek to help them. We need to look for people who are ready to throw their arms down in defeat. This is a great time to put your religion into practice. This time is better than any as far as our lifetimes. But what I mean by putting your religion into practice is looking after the widows and orphans in their afflictions. Today, you can make a phone call to a person who's lonely or carrying a load. You can make supper for someone who may be overwhelmed with life. You can reach out to someone you haven't seen in a while, or someone you regularly speak to at church. You can make an effort to see people's needs and to seek to take on some of the burden. You can take on the burden of sin. You can take on the burden in sharing those things with one another, but just being considerate of other people. Today I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to look at our lives, and are we at our Rephidim? Well, maybe we're not. Maybe our trust in God through the journey of life is maybe as strong as it's ever been, and I hope that's right. And I hope that we can encourage and help other people who need that. But as we look at our lives, we are on a journey. We are, and God is leading us, and God's working, and we have good times, we have bad times, we have times that we think, boy, I'm blessed. But the reality is God is working in the midst of every moment of our journey. Sometimes our focus is wrong. Sometimes in the desert, we think, God, where are you? That's what the children of Israel kept saying. Is God with us or not? And they question God. But if we will keep our focus and we'll understand God and His powerful working in our lives, it will change our viewpoint and it will change our world. Today I want to encourage you to read Romans chapter 8, the whole chapter. What Paul is building up to in Romans is the power of God for salvation. He's writing about the gospel and the beauty of the gospel and everything that God has done through His Son. And Romans chapter 8 comes to this great climax of what can separate us from the love of God. And sometimes if we will just sit and read that, and I hope that you sit and read that as a family when we get done here today, but just to sit and read Romans 8 and understand the powerful working of God in your life. Don't let the place define the relationship. Don't let where you're at in your journey today define how you view God, but be drawn to God. This is what I'll leave you with. And this is what I want you to take home with you, and this is what I want you to understand no matter where you're at, no matter where the journey takes you. If a person were to give their child for you, wouldn't you know where you stand with that person? Let me say that again. If a person were to give their child for you, if they were to pay that price, wouldn't you know where you stand with that person? Wouldn't you know how they thought about you or how they cared for you? You never have to doubt where you stand with God because you know that He gave His Son for you. What a beautiful reminder as we go through life. And maybe life looks a little different for many of us today. Maybe it looks different. Maybe we've been carrying a burden with us, and this is just another thing that goes on the pile. But as we look at it, understand that God is working in your life. God is drawing you in, and He wants you to come close to Him. That's why when you're at your Rephidim, you can draw near to God and know that He's drawing you into Himself. God loves you. Be encouraged and hold your hands high and watch God work. God bless each and every one of you. Thanks for being with us.